First, all you have to do is get up before Pesach and say, all the chametz in my house is batel mavutel ka'afa da'ara, it's gone, nullified, destroyed, it's not here. And his yoytze is chiyav tashpisu m'daraisa. So in other words, we mentioned Shabbos, if someone's going away for Pesach, and is actually leaving 30 days before Pesach, a little bit before 30 days before Pesach he's leaving. Let's say he lives in Florida the whole winter, he's coming back 30 days before Pesach, so he has no chiyav b'dika before 30 days, so technically he could just leave his house, lock it up, go, and the chametz that's there, it says, Kol chamir v'chamir, I'm mevatel all the chametz, it's null and void, it's kafir da'ara, and it has a din that it's gone, nullified, and he's not over by Yirel by Yimotza. Now there's a machlokes rishonim, if he knows he has a loaf of bread there, whether he has to get rid of it or not, it's a machlokes rishonim. But if he doesn't know, definitely doesn't have to clean his house. If he doesn't know he has chametz there, basically all the food's been eaten, there's nothing left, and if he doesn't know, he doesn't have to search his house, he could just be mevatel it. Being that he's not going to be there for Pesach, so Midaraisa, the Bintel Sagi. But the Rabbanan, they require you to actually get rid of the chametz. For two reasons. One reason is because there might be a nice loaf of bread that he doesn't really want to be mevatel. He says it's null and void, but really he might want it. And two, he might come to eat it. He might see it around and forget that he was mevatel and be hungry, he'll slip his mind for a minute and it's Pesach and just take a bite. So therefore they require him to get rid of the chametz. But that, if a person leaves before the chayvus b'dika, which is before 30 days before, and he's not going to be around his house on Pesach, so these halachas might not apply, and therefore the bit of the Almasagi. So it's important to notice. So in other words, once we're mevatel the chametz, technically we got rid of the chametz. What's left is just the fact that the chametz is around. The fact that the chametz is around causes us a problem, and we have to get rid of it.
Why did they make it 30 days? Let's say a person goes to Florida, Pesach, and leaves 5 days before Pesach, not 30 days.
Why did they make it 30 days? To show them the Doshim, Milch,
So what would that person have to do if they left 5 days?
Yeah, because we start worrying about the chametz. We start showing the Doshim, we start getting involved in the Hilchos Pesach 30 days before. So that's why the Chazal put the takana then. It's a Drabanan Dekaden. They put the takana on him.
I'm just saying that he's not going to be around in that residence.
Not going to be there anyways.
Place.
Anyways,
5 days
Pesach.
before. So what would he be required to do in that scenario?
He has to clean it out.
As if it was just.
As it was there, or he could sell it. Or he could sell it, but it's not his. If you want to go to Mechira, today we sell the chametz anyway, so you could just sell that. But if you're not selling the chametz, so then you're mechuyev to go back and clean it out, because you have a chiyuv b'dik on all your things. You have to get rid of the chametz with Rabbanan. So the nafka minas today that before 30 days before Pesach, you're not supposed to put chametz in places where you might forget it. You might not be able to get it out, or chametz will get stuck on. In other words, we have to be worried about the chametz already. So I don't know how practical it is, but if you have something which get caked on chametz, you won't be able to get it off. Or you put chametz someplace where you might forget it. So a person should be careful about that, because we have to start worrying about it now. There's that's the chiyuv b'dika, which is already on us from 30 days before. But I'm just giving a background to understand why not every piece of chametz is necessary to get rid of, because you technically mevatel it, but we still have a chayvus b'dika midrabanan. So the ikar din b'dika, according to all the Rishonim, is on a kazayis chametz. You have a kazayis of chametz that you have to get rid of. Or if you have a gluska na, in other words, even if it's not a kazayis, let's say it's a whole Cheerio, so it's a whole piece of chametz, which it's a Cheerio, you might eat it. It's a pretzel, even if it's not a kazayis by itself, it's a complete item in itself. So that has a din of chametz gomer, which we require to get rid of. So when the ikar chayvus b'dika is on a full amount of chametz, and that's what it is. So technically, you're searching that. That's what you're searching for. That's the ikar first level 1 of chametz, kazayis, or an entire object. People get involved in looking for every little crumb. They forget to look for the main thing. The main thing to look for are bags of pretzels, bags, of chametz, box of Cheerios you might have left in the cloud. The real chametz that's around, that's the chayvus b'dika. And even if it's loose, if it's a whole piece, a whole thing, so that would be the chiyuv. That's the first level of chametz you have to get rid of. The second level of chametz is a chatzi zayis. Now chatzi zayis is a big machlokes achronim. If there's a chiyuv to get rid of it, if there's a chiyuv bedika on it, what that is. It's based on the sugya in Gemaras that it could be, according to many Rishonim, there's no chiyuv to b'chlal get rid of a chatzi zayis. It's less than a share. You're not going to eat it, so it's less than a share. Maybe you don't have to get rid of it. But according to the other Rishonim, you do have to get rid of even a chatzi zayis. Even it's smaller than a share. Even if it's smaller than a share, you have to get rid of it. But what's more relevant is if it's in one place together. In other words, in the time of Chazal, we said, let's say it's in a pot. So you have pieces in a pot, in the grooves. So if the whole pot, all the pieces in the pot together would be mitzdaref to a kazayis, would add up to a kazayis, so then that would consist of a kazayis, which you for sure have to get rid of. So if you're cleaning and you have a place, let's say a drawer or something, where there's a lot of chametz in there, and it could add up all together, all the crumbs together could add up, so that would be a bigger issue than if it's a big room and just look on the floor and there are a lot of little pieces. Okay, so when we're talking about a chatzi zayis, we're talking about an isolated chatzi zayis. If it's somewhere where it could be connected with other pieces, so then that would maybe have a halacha of a kazayis. But a chatzi zayis, a half a share by itself, so it's a machlokes. The Mishabur brings it down. Mishabur brings down the machlokes of whether there's a chayvus beer on it, and l'chatchila we're machmer to get rid of that chametz also when you're cleaning. Again, the chayvus bedika to check is not as serious. When you're looking for the bigger pieces, but when we're cleaning for Pesach, we're getting rid of everything. So we're getting rid of even the smaller shirim. Like we said, it's a minical garas aksolim. So we don't know. Wash the walls, possibly in the kitchen. Maybe they'll wash down. Okay, so you do a nice washing on it. It's a minig. This is a minig Yisrael Kadoshim. It's brought down to do these things. But again, there's no kazayis of chametz on your walls. There's no even chatzi zayis on your walls. And therefore, the Meker Adin, there's no chiyuv to even wash down your walls. To want to do it, it's a minig. It's an old minig. And for Chumash Pesach, we have a lot of minhagim that people do that are brought down in halacha, but they're not based on the halachic requirements.
So if you left a half a zayas of bread, let's say, in your house somewhere, and say you didn't do bittul chametz and you didn't sell machiras chametz, you wouldn't be over volume matzah.
Not even volume matzah on a half
based on a
size,
half.
no. Unless it could be connected with another half. You're not over volume on it. Yeah. Right.
What is the share of kazayas? Like, what does that mean?
Yeah, kazayas.
No, I know not what is the volume, etc. But why did they give it
that was
share?
Considered chashuv. Less than that, people wouldn't necessarily take around to eat. It wasn't considered a chashuv, a piece of bread. It really goes in the garbage. It's not a thing. Now the third level, which is very common, is less than a chatzi zayis. Since we said it's more lenient, less than a chatzi zayis, that got slightly dirty. Now we mentioned last week that in order for something to become not chametz, it would have to be nifsel me'achilas kelev. Right? If you have a real piece of chametz, it's considered chametz until it's totally unedible, even for a dog. But if let's say you have a crumb, let's say you have a piece of a crumb or even a half a gazayis that fell on the floor. In those days, it was a dirty floor. Today it depends. If the cleaning lady just clean the floor, it's quite clean. But a dirty floor fell on a dirty floor, so it's slightly dirty. A person wouldn't go down and eat from it. So that is null and void by itself. You don't have to clean it. You don't have to be biding for it. You don't even have to get rid of the chametz to begin. You can leave it there on Pesach. There's no inyan to get rid of that chametz. There's no chiyuv in halacha, I should say, to get rid of that chametz if it's less than a shear and it's dirty. That's clear in the Mishabur. There's no shayla on that. So if you would have a less than a shear, again, if it's a shear, that's real chametz. So then I got to be nifsel me'achilas kelev. We don't go with the coolest. But if it's less than a shear, it's chatzi zayis, which anyways is questionable whether I have a chiyuv to get rid of it. But if it's in a place where it's dirty already, if it gets dirty enough that nobody's going to eat it again, we're batal all chametz anyways. And this chametz, it could be is batal me'elav. It's automatically considered like dirt. The only shayla is that I might come to eat it. I'm not coming to eat that food, and therefore there's no chiyuv to get rid of it.
There's crumbs on the ground.
Crumbs on the ground. Crumbs on the ground. So technically there's no chiyuv to get rid of it. Now, If you're a person, we'll get to this soon, depending, let's say it's in a place where, let's say, your food will fall on the floor, you pick it up and eat it, so then you have another problem, because if there's crumbs on the floor, and the food goes on the floor, touches that crumbs, picks it up and you eat it, you might be eating this is all a heter for cleaning, beer chametz, it's not a heter for eating chametz. You can't even eat the minutest amount of chametz, unless it's nifsal me'achilas kelev. You can't eat it. So therefore, if it's in a place where the crumb might somehow be consumed, then you got to clean it. So we're not talking about the kitchen. When you're going into the kitchen, the counters, this and that, we're going to get to later. But when you're talking about a different room in the house or something, so anything that gets slightly dirty, finished. There's no chiyuv b'dika. It's gone. If it's small amount, there's no chiyuv.
So the shear for chilas chametz is called the hoop, kol shu.
Kol shu. It's ism d'oraisa. Chatzi shear is ism d'oraisa. We hold. So it's a d'oraisa to eat even a kol shu of chametz. There's no chiyuv koros unless you eat a kazayis, but it's a d'oraisa. So
like white. By volume,
you don't have chatzi shear. That's
no,
a
I
shayla.
understand. They like how you explained before. It's in on the chashivas.
Right.
But not for
achila. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So so that's the three levels. The first level is a kazayas. The second level is a half a kazayas, and the third level is it got dirty. Now, so when we're coming to talking about cleaning the house, so it depends like we said before, where you are. So those days, again, the floor was dirty, things fell on the floor, wasn't relevant. Today, the floors are kept much cleaner. Some people may eat from the floor, some people may not eat in the floor, depending where you live. I don't know, but definitely once the floor was swept and mopped once, it's done. There's no reason to get the sugar from the zach and knock yourself out. It's clean, it's finished, there's nothing. You do b'dikas chametz. Yeah, so the question is when you're checking, when you're actually doing the b'dika itself, so there's another interesting shayla. We'll go away from chametz, we'll go into hilchos b'dika for a moment. Another interesting shayla. Your wife cleans the house, it's spotless. By the time you come in to check with the candle and the feather and everything, they go in to check the house, there's nothing to look for. Basically speaking, the house is spotless. So the question is, are you mechuyev to go now and spend hours and hours going through every single little thing, which is the ikar halacha. The ikar halacha is b'dika means to actually go through every single step of the house to clean it out. Listen, my wife just cleaned the house, and I'll just take a cursory glimpse. I'll look for my 10 pieces of bread. This is one of the reasons why we put out the 10 pieces of bread, is because since they cleaned out the house so well, so what am I checking for? So they put out the bread. This is one of the reasons, even though it was originally it's just a minhag, but today it's more of a necessity, so to say, because since the house was so well cleaned, that there should be chametz in the house, so you're really making a b'dika. So there's actually a halacha. It's a fush halacha. It's based on the Mordechai. Ever wondered why you get a feather? The candle, we know why you look in the candle. Chavos Yishayim Banevis, Ikar Chiyuv B'dikas with candles. A spoon, I'm not sure exactly what the spoon is doing there. I guess you put the feather onto the spoon. The question is what the feather is doing there. Minig Yisrael, there's a reason where everything came from. So there's two reasons. There's a shiloh why. Either it's for the pre-cleaning. In other words, again, they had dirt floors in those days. So if they didn't sweep the floor well, some rooms, let's say garage, you want to clean out your garage, yeah? Want to check. Garage also may have to be checked, we'll see soon. So let's say you want to clean out your garage. You can't get anywhere there. I mean, it's cluttered, it's this, depends how clean the garage is. So you can't even make a b'dika. So what you have is a pre-cleaning b'dika. In other words, in a day you sweep it out, you sweep it off the floor, and now you can check. But if it's not properly cleaned, you can't check. So the Mordechai brings us down that there's an Indian to clean out the room before the b'dika, so this way you could go and check. That was the sweeping. So I don't know, feathers might be too small to sweep. That's brought down the feather. I guess they had big noises or something, and they swept it off, and then they were able to check for chametz, but you couldn't check, it was just a pile of dirt. Second reason is for, when you actually find the chametz to sweep it up. There's two reasons. So if you actually did the sweeping before, so some want to hold that, so now my chiyuv b'dika is much less. Since I actually cleaned it before, so my chiyuv b'dika is just to check for the, if there's anything left behind. If I left anything behind, you could do a quick checking, check if I left. There I'm actually really checking for the first level of chametz. I'm not really doing a proper cleaning. The cleaning was done before. If it's a room that wasn't clean, well, Chazal was much easier. The smaller houses, there's a lot of the stuff they just did in the Leil Yud Gimel. That's when they did the whole Bedika. So then you really had to check for any chametz because that's when you were doing the cleaning. So today, many people are makel and they just do a quicker Bedika in the house based on this, that it's cleaned already. And the Ikar Bedika's chametz again is for the real chametz, for the pretzels and the Cheerios. It doesn't take that long to look for all that. So therefore, Hagam, some places don't hold to that. They say, no, you really have to do a proper Bedika, but that's where the Makam Kula would fit in. Because since you already cleaned the house, and the Ikar Bedika is for the larger objects. So those are in the other rooms, let's say the bedrooms, where even though you may have brought chametz in, but there's no reason to really scrub it or anything like that. You just check for any large object of chametz. Okay. So those are for those rooms. Now again, there are three types of rooms. There's a room where you never bring in chametz. There's a place where you don't bring chametz in. If you don't have kids in the house, so there might be studies or other place where you simply don't bring any food in. Or bedrooms, if you might not bring any food in. If you have kids in the house, the kids bring the food anywhere. But even so, it's not a place where you eat chametz in, where you really bring in chametz on a regular basis. It's a place where maybe the kids went in. So we could have, again, three levels. One level is there's absolutely no chayvus bedika at all. It's a place where you don't bring chametz in. But even in the rooms itself, you may have drawers where you keep your clothing. Well, you don't keep chametz in there. You don't go in there when you're eating food. There's no chametz. There's no chayvus bedika. There's absolutely no reason to check those drawers. I mean, if it's your pockets, if you may have put chametz in your pockets, so you got to clean your clothing. That we'll get to later. But if not, it's not a place where you keep chametz, and there's no chayvus bedika. You don't have to check it. You can assume it's chametz free. If it's a place where, even though it's not you don't normally go in with chametz, but it's a place where sometimes it happens. People walk around the house, the kids go around the house. There could be chametz, so it has to be checked. But again, the checking is also just a checking for real chametz out there. Then you can have a third place, which is places where you actually eat chametz, the living room, dining room area, where you actually keep chametz, have chametz on a regular basis being done. So that needs a much better cleaning because they're a bigger chashash. Now, in these places, so what has to be checked? How well does it have to be cleaned? So we said, in such a kind of place where there's issa chametz b'mashu, that's why we're very machmer in the kitchen. So any place where it could be touched chametz, where chametz could come, has to be thoroughly clean and wiped down. Because any mashu chametz is asur. So here we're not discussing yochiv bedika because of you might have chametz b'al yirah b'al yimatzeh, but you're discussing yochiv bedika because you might come to eat chametz. So this is much more serious, so the table will be scrolled down. But even so, but if it's a place where again the chametz got dirty, and you're not actually going to eat off it, let's say in the crevices of the chair. A lot of times in the chair, in between the cushions, crumbs get in there. So it should be wiped out. But again, there's really absolutely no chiyuv mikra adin. It should be wiped out. It's the minhag is to make sure chametz is out. But mikra adin, nobody's eating from the crevices of the chair, and so technically you don't have. You have other places get stuck in the computer keyboards. Sometimes in some place where everybody uses it, it gets very dirty in there. So there is a minhag that's brought down, to cover over. If it's chametz that's visible, you cover it over. You can't get to it; it's invisible. You cover it over. But again, these things, if it's not something which is going to come out on Pesach, so there's no chiyuv mikra adin to get rid of it. It can stay there. It's already automatically bottled.
If you have any chametz trapped behind, let's say, a stove or a heavy fridge or something like that.
Okay, so we'll get to that in a moment. So if it's behind a heavy thing, yeah. So behind a heavy thing, the Gemara says something which is buried in a gal, under a pile of stones. So the Gemara says until 3 tvachim you have to be mechapes. Afterwards you don't. Until 3 tvachim you could get it. Animals could get it, so it could be accessible. Past that it's not accessible. It's automatically mavor. You don't have to get rid of it. So this applies to any heavy piece of furniture. If that furniture is normally not removed, it's kept there and it's not removed, and you don't go back there, so there's no chiyuv to to be boidik there. Even if there is chametz there, it's bottles mevutel, and there's a whole piece of bread there.
When you say it's 3 tvachim, does that mean 3 tvachim, for example, for how far you normally walk, or how far you normally stand, or how far you can actually reach in?
How far you can actually reach in. Yeah, but normally this 3 tvachim is by a gal. Today, whatever you could get, with a broom you would get to underneath the furniture, that has to be taken care of. Whatever you can't reach is not reachable. So we're not worried he's going to come to eat from there. You mevatel everything. You mevatel it anyways, the chametz. So therefore there's no chiyuv to be boidik there. The question comes in a fridge. A lot of times the cleaning lady moves the fridge anyways to clean underneath. So if there's a question, if it's moved often, and something which is moved often, then there is a chiyuv bedika there, because if it's moved often, you may move it again, and it may be open. But the chiyuv bedika there, again, is only for the large pieces, because the small, it's quite dirty underneath there, and maybe it's dirty underneath there, and the small pieces get dirty. It gets dirty. There's no chiyuv bedika on. So you only really have to be boidik if if they clean behind the fridge, it's cleaned anyways. But if it wasn't cleaned and you move it and you see it's dirty on the floor there, that doesn't mean you have to now get down and scrub it on with a mop, because mikra adin, again, any pachas mikazayis that's fell in a place where it's dirty, there's no chayvus bedika. But if you find a large piece, you find a bigger pretzels there or something, so then that's a real chiyuv bedika. So since it's something which was moved and is moved, so then nonetheless there is a minute, same way there's a minute l'garis saksolim, there's a minute to move these things and wash it. So someone that does do it is not foreign. It's definitely b'chal the minute. But mikra adin, there's no chiyuv, so it depends what's moved. If it's a furniture that's never moved, you definitely don't have to move it. It's a furniture that's sometimes moved, the cleaning lady will clean behind the fridge and behind the stove and move it, so then there is inyan to clean it. But again, from the dirt on the floor, that's not b'chal the chayvus bedika at all, the stuff underneath. There's another shaila halacha here about the kalim. Does a person have to be boidik the kalim? When you check for your chametz, you have to go through the pots and pans and start checking. So if you sell them all, you sell them all. So whatever you're selling, you don't have to be boidik. It's out of the house anyways. It's being sold. But if you're not selling it, so is there a chiyuv on kalim?
You don't sell the kalim.
What?
You don't sell the kalim.
You sell the chametz in them.
Chametz in it.
Yeah. Well, let's say your car. What about your car? You have to check your car. Is it clean? What do I mean? You have to check is you definitely have to make sure. You definitely have to clean it for chametz. But you cleaned it. You cleaned it a week ago. You cleaned your car. Now it's Leil Yud Gimel. Do I have to Leil Yudal? No. I'm checking. Do I have to go out to my car and check it for chametz? L'or haner. The halacha is that even something which was cleaned in the day, you chiv bedika on at night is to check it l'or haner. Anything, everything has to be checked. So the question is, do I have to go to my car? My car is a kli, or clothing. The clothing and the pockets of the clothing have to be checked. To the and the refrigerator. Refrigerator is a kli. Do I have to go open my refrigerator and check for chametz? I definitely have to make sure there's no chametz there. So again, I cleaned this. We cleaned out the house for Pesach, but do I have to check it on the night of Yudalad? So it's also a big shot. It's very unclear that there should be a chiyuv in kalim. You don't find it in that there's a chiyuv to check your kalim, but nonetheless, it seems the rayas that the larger ones, the big vessels, so a car would maybe included in that. There may be a chiyuv to be boidik. The smaller kalim, your pots and pans, you don't have to be boidik. You don't have to check. If it's in your cupboard, so you check your cupboard anyways to make sure you didn't leave any chametz in there. But any kli, your pockets, as long as they were cleaned, as long as not all pockets have to be clean for Pesach, but if it's someplace where you go to chasna, you take the cake, you put it in your pocket, your jacket pockets, I don't know, something where you make put chametz in. My kids' pockets, you find it all the time, all kinds of interesting snacks and stuff. So pockets that definitely has to be checked for chametz, but it's not a chiyuv necessarily on leil yud daled that you could maybe check it whenever you clean it. You're saying you launder it, so it's clean. Anything that's put away clean, you wash the pasta, you put away clean, they don't necessarily have to be rechecked at night.
When you say recheck, you're talking about doing bedika.
Doing bedika. The chiyuv bedika yud gimel, you're not yotzev the fact that you clean your house beforehand. Your chiyuv is to be boidik on your daled, because whatever wasn't checked l'or haner inside the cupboards are not checked. L'or haner has to be checked on leil yud daled. But the question is, what has to be checked? So saying these things that are not necessarily b'chlal b'chiyav, as long as it was cleaned at one point in time, when your wife washed the clothing, it was clean, finished, it was put away, it was put in the drawers, it's clean. There's no reason I should suspect that there's any chametz in there from today and on. Therefore, there's no necessarily chiyav to go rummage through the drawers and through the pockets to check for chametz. It's better to check the places which need to be checked. A garage in these places, if someone goes in there, if you go in there normally when you eat outside, so then it would have to be checked. Now the question is like this: outside, is there a chiyuv to check your chutzner? Does your chutzner have to be clean? Does your yard have to be clean for chametz? So Chazal say, since the birds come and eat it, so cats come. I don't know what comes today. They come and they eat the stuff. So anything, I don't have to worry that there's chametz left over. But that's only true for safek chametz. If I have vadei chametz, in other words, if let's say I Erev Pesach, before Pesach, I don't want to eat in the house, so I sit and eat outside. So I sit and eat at the picnic table outside. That place must be clean. I can't assume that the birds came and ate it up. They don't come so fast and eat everything up, and I must get rid of the chametz there. Again, the crumbs, the small parts, because I fell on the floor, I don't have to worry about it, because it's dirty anyways. It's dirty. There's no reason to get rid of that chametz. But big pieces, or bags, or whole chametz that are wrapped up in bags might be left over.
What would you do? I was looking into my garden a few weeks ago, and I guess a squirrel or something had come along and deposited on the corner of my balcony half a bagel. Would that be considered yours?
Yes, so any chametz which is in your rishus, on Pesach, you have no, maybe you don't want to be kind, but you don't want to be kind anyways. But any chametz that's in your rishus, we get rid of,
What would happen if something like that happened on Pesach? I was shocked. I've never seen anything like this. It was there one day, gone the next.
Right. Yes.
Would you be responsible for getting during Pesach? What would you do?
Well, during Pesach, so I'm basically covering. And Chalamoid, you would actually get rid of it, burn it. But something like that, which was never yours, is really, you're not over on that anyways, because you have no mind to be kind of. Sometimes you get in the mail some kinds of things which may have chametz in it, samples, right? So you have in mind a person doesn't want to be kind of chametz on Pesach, so therefore it's not his. But nonetheless, he should get it out of his house as quick as possible, because you don't want it in the house, because someone might come to eat it. So again, even though with the rice you're not over by your matzah, there's always two reasons. There's one reason that I own chametz, and there's another thing that I may come to eat it. So any chametz in the house we get rid of because of the second reason, even though you may not have the first reason.
How about a barbecue? You have it outside. So you cover your kalim during the Pesach. You have to cover the barbecue also, right?
Well, you're not using it on Pesach.
No.
Yeah. So you're not using it on Pesach. So if there's real chametz in there, so.
No, it's not, there's no real chametz, but you put chametz on it.
You just close it up. Yeah. If there's no kazayas chametz, says again, if there's no kazayas chametz left over in the kli, so you put it away and you're not going to use it. That's kalim. So that's what I'm saying. So stuff outside. So outside, like in your garage and these things, what you're really looking for chametz. You're not looking for dirt. Chati zayis that got dirty. There's no chiv to get rid of. What you're looking is for whole chametzes or bags or things that were that might have been left around. Chametz in a shopping bag is that the birds aren't going to get, or something that might have been left around. That's what you're looking for in the chiv b'dika, and that's what has to get rid of. But the small pieces of crumbs that went on the floor, there's no chiv anyways. Unless you're using, if you're going to use some area which you're going to use on Pesach, that surface has to be cleaned properly, because anything you put that on there again, you might come to consume. So those are the issues of b'dika.
But your car.
So that's what I'm saying. So the car, it has a din of a kli. So it's a question whether you have to check it on the night, but it definitely has to be clean, because there's chametz in there. You might find something in there. The dirt that got squashed into the floor or into the thing. So if nobody's going to eat it anyway, it's not b'chlal yechiv of beer. It's bottle anyways. But unless you regularly eat in the car, So, the steering wheel, they say to wipe down because you touch it and you do it. But the other parts, if you eat off the seats should be wiped down if you're going to eat off the seats of the car. But otherwise, if it's less than a kazayas and it's in a place where it's dirty anyways, so you don't have that chiv. But you definitely have to make sure there's no real chametz left in the car, bags or something that's a whole, you can find whole cookies and things in there. So that should be gotten rid of. again, whether the chiyuv is Yud Gimel, is telling the Shaila whether on Kalim there's a chiyuv to be boidek or on there. So that would be included in that.
Can I ask you a question about Michrata Homer?
Selling homers. Yeah.
I don't understand. It sounds like a little bit like a game. It's selling the house where you have
Place where you keep the homers.
where you keep the homes. But really, if you have a mortgage, so it's not only your like house. You have to get
Goes to the bank.
You have to the bank owns it.
The bank owns the house. How
How
can
you
you sell
really,
it?
how you really selling the house?
You don't sell the house. We never sell the house. We sell the chametz. You can't sell the house. The only thing we do is we rent the place underneath. There's two issues here. There's one issue of not having chametz, and then there's a second issue is that if the chametz is by you, even if it doesn't belong to you, let's say the chametz belongs to someone else, but it's in my house, so I may come to use it, I may come to eat it, I have to put it in a separate place. In other words, like this. If I have chametz in my house, and it's bottle mavutal, I have to, still it doesn't help me. I have to have a machitza asara. I have to put in another room where it's not accessible on Pesach. There's something which is in front of me, which is accessible on Pesach. I might come to eat on Pesach is a problem. Now, a lot of people just close off the cupboards. If it's not closed off well, it's cause a problem. Because since normally, without thinking, I just open the covers and go in there. So the fact that I have a little sign that says chametz on it, when I'm groggy in the morning, I didn't have my coffee yet, I may not see that little sign chametz, open it up and take something out. The problem of having chametz in the house is a practical problem, that I'm not allowed to have something in a place where I can get it. So therefore I'm mechuyev to get it out of my house. So even if I sell the chametz, it's still in my house, I have to get rid of it. Or if I, the ikar mechiyus chametz was to take the chametz and sell it to a guy, or close off the whole place, properly close it off. So if I'm going to sell the chametz, the best way to do it is to close off the area. If you have a room, a closet where you keep the chametz in, keep all the chametz in that one place. If you have real chametz, I'm talking about real chametz, I'm not talking about crumbs. I'm talking about the real chametz. If you're selling boxes of Cheerios, you're selling bread, you're selling real chametz, whiskey. It should be put in one place, one area, closed off totally, and properly closed off, and that's it. It's sold.
That includes kalim also. That includes the kalim?
The kalim, we put everything into the mechira, but there's no real chiyuv to sell those, because there's no chametz there. There's no chametz there, you don't have to sell. If anything, there's just a few crumbs. But what we're selling is real chametz that you're selling. We're selling the chametz, we're not selling the house. We're selling the chametz, but we're renting that place, which you have a right to do. You have a right to rent out that place, or renting it out to the guy, that place is his domain, and it has to be properly closed off, and I can't go in there. But I'm not actually selling the house. I can't sell the house. So that's how you do it. So when a person sells it, any room that he's selling should not be used. It's not, you shouldn't go in there, because it has to be properly closed off. If a person sells the cupboards, a lot of people sell different cupboards, they have things in. So if you're doing that, so if it's not real chametz, it's only, it's only shvacha chametz, kalim, it's things that might be chametz, big deal. Close it off. If it's real chametz, the suggested thing is that it should be in one specific place and closed off. If not, it should be properly closed. Maybe heavy, strong tape that you can't just yank it open. It'll stop you from opening something which is very clearly not going to be accessed by anybody in the family, even the kids, on Pesach. So
if you have cereal, for instance, it's still in the kitchen.
Still, because it's not suggested. I know a lot of people do it. It's not suggested it should stay in the kitchen, and if it does stay, it should be really properly closed, that it wouldn't be accessible in any way.
We always store the chametz in a room in the basement, which we close on. The problem is that the electric panels are in that room, and I'm always afraid there might be a fuse blow, circuit breaker, and you have to, so like in an emergency, would it be problematical to go into that room to attend to
in an emergency, one could go into the room if it's needed. Yeah.
Why?
Yeah, if it's something which really happens often, it might be a problem. Something that normally doesn't happen, it's just a question of emergency, so then one could go into the room if it's necessary. Yeah. Yeah, because again, it's you may have a right to go in if it's as a landlord to go in and get stuff. You didn't sell the room; it's just
Right.
lent. The makam underneath is mushal for the chametz, just selling the chametz itself.
Just once again, if a person today cleans their car out and they're resolved never to bring chametz into that car,
Is there a
if they're
chiyuv
chiyuv
b'dika? So I'm saying that depends if there's a chiyuv b'dika on kalim. So I'm saying is kalim mikra then is no chiyuv b'dika on, but a car which is such a large unit, some people hold that there may be a chiyuv b'dika, and therefore it's.
even if it's been cleaned and there's a resolve not to bring any chametz.
Right. It's like a room in the house. You clean, you resolve not to bring chametz, but you have to be boyded lower haner. So you check the car lower haner. Again, it's questionable whether there's such a chiyuv because it's a kli. It's not a room. The best thing is after you made a bracha in the house and you clean the house, you just go outside with a flashlight and look around.
You were mentioning before that when you sell it, you have to specify certain cupboards. You sell the cupboard.
Yeah.
But when we sell the chametz, we just sell all the chametz in the house.
That's put it in just in case you have chametz, but you should specify the room, especially if there's real chametz. If there's real chametz, whiskey or things like that, we should specify where that is, and that's.
So how do you write it down?
Write it down. The cupboard in the kitchen that's closed.
And you
off.
give it to the Rav with.
Yeah.
Would you be buying chametz?
Yeah.
Why do you have to rent out? When you do Mechiras Chametz, why do you also have to rent out? Why the makom that it's there? Why is it good enough that
for two reasons. One is part of the mechira. It's a question of how you get the chametz sold, which is a discussion in itself. What the kinyan is. That's one question. But two, it has to be totally closed off.
Because of kinyan chatzar or something.
Kinyan chatzar, yeah.
It's because of kinyan chatzar. That's why you have to rent out.
Place underneath. That's right.
Okay.
But then again, it has to be also closed off. It shouldn't be in your reshus. You don't want the chametz in your reshus on Pesach, so it has to be rent out.